Listeners, hello, it's For The Fans. We're back again. It's me, your host, Ben, and as ever, we're joined by... you're kind of panellists at this point. I feel like I feel like I take on host duty and you've become panellists on the show, but regular panellists.
That's right,
would you say?
Team
I'm not sure I like that.
Yeah, kind of. Keno, let's not pretend you're a host here, Keno.
So, Jack, are you Matt Dawson on Question of Sport?
I was thinking more 8 out of 10 cats, to be honest.
Well, that's not sport related, though, is it? Anyway, welcome back. It is indeed For The Fun show. We're chatting about some Premier League action and the return of the feature, as well as the viewer question later on. You can, of course, find us YouTube, Twitter, iTunes, and SoundCloud. Keno.
Yes.
I mean, that was a very, unassuring,
Lots of people said they would listen on SoundCloud.
They did. That's why I said yes.
So you best be putting it on SoundCloud. Anyway, today's feature comes from the help of friend of the show, Philo Stothers. Boys, you're aware of his work, I'm sure?
I am.
Very aware.
Now, he has helped me compile a database of some of our predictions throughout last season.
Oh, no.
Oh, dearie me.
Excellent.
So last week we gave predictions. Now it's time for a little look back down memory lane of things we said last season that may or may not have proven to be correct or incorrect. Now what I'm going to do, gentlemen, is go back and forth. I'm going to give you the date and the phrase, and you're going to tell me who said it. Jack, would you like to go first or second?
I'll go
date.
Second, please.
Okay.
Ben, just a quick clarification. Is it an exact date or month, time of the year?
It's the exact date.
Oh.
Well, that the show was uploaded, to clarify. But it's close enough.
Okay.
For
what
example,
if I say, mid-December? Is that all right?
All right, well, I'm going to give you the date.
Okay.
Just so you're aware. Right then, Jack.
Hello.
Who said on the 2nd of November show, 2015, Big Sam will get the England gig in the summer?
I mean, I said I wanted to go second.
Sorry, that's not for you. Keno, who said? Good point. Who said Big Sam will get the England gig in the summer?
As you two will know, I have been a long-term banger of the Big Sam drum. That sentence could have gone weird, but I don't think I was backing him at that point for the job. So I think is it just between me and Jack, Ben, or are you included in this as well?
We're all included, all three of us.
Okay, well, you're definitely not a Sam fan and have never been, so I'm going to say Jack.
That's a point. Interestingly, I did say that at one point during the season. Someone tweeted me, but not on that particular date.
It was a bit of a disparaging comment. I think Jack was being positive.
Yeah.
See, I've backed Big Sam from the start. I knew Roy was gone in the summer.
Oh, God. I mean, so when he's a failure, we could blame you for predicting it early.
Jack was an early user of Prozone.
I was over to you
then.
Sam Allardyce.
Over to you then, Jack, Master General.
Hello.
Who said on the 9th of August this is, by the way?
This was early on.
2015.
Aston Villa will finish mid-table?
No, it was Payet could be a fantastic player this season. Now, you've got to remember, at the time Payet was brought in, there wasn't a great deal of fuss about him, I don't think, not at the time anyway. But one of us predicted he would be a fantastic player this season. High praise indeed.
Oh, gosh. See, I kind of just want to say myself and hope that I'm right, but I don't think I did say that. So it's between you two. Now, Keno's the kind of person who likes to take punts, like when a new player comes in, he'll say about every player and then claim the little victories. Whereas you, Ben, you do that as well. So I don't know, that doesn't help me. I'm going to go with, I feel like it's probably something, my heart is telling me Keno, my head is telling me Ben. I'm going to say Keno, and I'm probably wrong, and I'm going to be annoyed with myself.
You get a point.
Yeah.
It was Keno. Well done to Keno.
I'm as pleased as Jack is with that point.
Who said, Keno, on the 9th, same show actually, 9th of August.
A lot of big calls are going out.
I mean, was this a good prediction or a terrible one where someone backed someone who did awful?
Who said Ranieri still might get sacked before Christmas?
I mean, that could be anyone.
Yeah.
But the point is, boys, it was one of us. That's the point.
Yeah. Us and many others. I think it'll be... I'll just take a guess as you, Ben. I think we were all thinking that.
You were certainly thinking it, Keno, because you said it. So there's no points. Unlucky, my friend. Jack, we'll come back over to you.
Yep.
Who said Andre Ayew is the best signing ever? That was the 3rd of September. He did start the season very well.
Is this a future prediction? Or, well, I was about to say, whoever said he could be the best signing ever, if it was this season, obviously, that prediction wouldn't have happened yet. He's out for 4 months.
I think it only sounds like one person, Ben.
It was last season.
It's probably...
Jack?
I think it's me. I actually think it's me.
I mean, it was you after he had a fantastic start to the year and then completely fizzled out.
It's £30 million player.
All over
£30 million player. That's all I'm saying.
It was indeed you. Who said, Keno, back to you, mate. Who said Chelsea will finish above Leicester? That was the 5th of January.
Someone definitely didn't predict Leicester to do very well at this point in the season.
Chelsea will finish above Leicester. That was the 5th of January.
I'm not sure the person who said that thought that Leicester would do badly at that point. I think they just thought that Chelsea might bounce back.
Who said it?
Probably me, I think. Disparaging Leicester yet again.
I'll take the bullet. It was that was me, I'm afraid.
Wow, that was a. I mean,
Chelsea finished 10th. So
I actually thought that might have been me because I was probably saying that in April.
Okay, Jack, back to you.
I'm ready.
2nd of November. This was.
Okay.
I think Benteke is the striker to take Liverpool into the Champions League and further.
Keno.
Just being told Crystal Palace. Keno, he's gone straight into Keno, and he is well and truly correct. That was indeed said. But Keno, that's the best one so far, I think. That is the best one so far. Who is it now, Keno?
Yeah.
Okay, I think Big Sam has met his match with Sunderland. That was the 19th of October.
Wasn't me.
It wasn't. I think it was me. I think they were my words.
That, indeed, were the words of Callum Keane. Again, it was a fantastic prediction.
I've got to be honest, I was expecting to have a lot more of my terrible predictions in it. I mean, there's probably more to come.
Oh, don't worry, Jack.
Jack, don't worry, I've got a list here. Right, we'll go for what we'll do, though, is we'll go for... this was the 14th of January. Who said Dimitri Payet is the most overrated player of the season? Which I think was probably harsh in retrospect.
When was this said?
14th of January.
Wow. Quite late.
That's someone who didn't give a damn. I feel like there might be a trend emerging here and it might be Keno again.
Oh, I don't think that's
But it might be me. It's probably me. Let me dwell on this.
Bear in mind, Jack, I bigged him up at the beginning of the season.
Dimitri Payet is the most overrated player of the season.
I think it was you, Ben.
It was you, Jack. So
I knew it was you. I just didn't want to admit it.
So 0 points.
Still stuck by that, by the way. Although he is better than Ozil.
Who said on the 29th of September Leicester will finish in the bottom half?
On what? What date?
29th of September.
Okay. We're back to the Leicester lottery again. I mean, it could be,
Who slagged him off? Who went for him?
Who slagged him off this week? Again, I mean, I'm getting the Leicester questions a lot. I'm going to say you, Ben. I think me and you were quite harsh on Leicester. Jack was a little bit.
We were quite harsh on Leicester, and Keno, it was you.
Oh,
so again, no points.
What's the scores at the moment in this?
You have 3 points. Keno has 2, but he has a like guess in hand essentially.
Right, no, I have a guess in hand.
Yeah, you do. So you do have a guess in hand. Who said Keno's here for proper football punditry? Fuck off.
Well, it's not Keno. It's not Keno.
That was the 10th of November.
Could have been me.
It could have been you.
See, I think it might be you. That's the kind of thing you'd say, but then I'm quite blunt like that and would just kind of say it like that. But I'm going to have to say you, Ben. I think it was you.
It was me. I did say that. I did.
Let it be known, I'm not here for proper football punditry.
No, not anymore. Anyway, you've learned.
No.
That's what a year does to you.
Is it back? Is it back to Keno?
What are you with these two clowns?
Who said on the 9th of August? Again, back to the 9th of August.
Ooh, early calls.
Crystal Palace's team are scarily good. Crystal Palace finished 15th last season, just so everyone knows. Keno, this is you, is it? I think we're on you. Yeah. Crystal Palace's team are scarily good.
The phrasing here sounds very Jap to me.
It's alright, we can drop it these days.
Is it okay?
Sorry,
See,
what was the quote? Can we just...
Crystal Palace's team are scarily good. 9th of August.
I know who said that.
Sounds like Jack to me, I think. I'm going to go with Jack.
Right, Jack, who do you think said it?
I said they were going to finish 7th at one point last year at the start.
That sounds scarily good.
And they did. They played Norwich at the start of the season, and that show was recorded after the Norwich game. And it was me who said Crystal Palace would do that.
Yeah, you did say Crystal Palace team are scarily good. Finish 15th. Right, Jack, back to you. Who said?
I feel like this is a good group bonding exercise.
It is, yeah. Who said on the 23rd of November, Jack? Who said, "I don't want to think about future Keno"?
Well, the thing is, I wouldn't mind eradicating Keno from the equation here. I don't want to think about future. That makes me think it was one of us talking about the fact Villa were going down, and it's how was Keno going to deal with the rest of the season. The way it's phrased makes me think it's you, so I'll have to say you, Ben.
Okay, the person that said, "I don't want to think about future Keno" was Keno.
Brilliant.
That is a proper Donald Trumpism from me, though.
I don't want to think about future Keno. I mean, Keno, you are now future Keno. How are you?
I mean, what was the date of that?
November, 23rd of November. It wasn't looking good.
No, I feel better now, I think.
All right, final one for each of you then. Who said Villa could finish above Swansea on the 14th of January?
Sorry, it's quite funny in hindsight.
Villa could finish above Swansea on the 14th of January.
I mean, I've got to be honest. It sounds like blind optimism.
Oh, is it me? Sorry,
yeah, it's you. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I wonder where Swansea were in the league at that point. If they were near my mid-table target for the bit, I guess it's me. Neither of you are as optimistic as I was at any point during the season.
That was me.
Wow.
I said Villa could finish above Swansea. I then, about 3 weeks later, had about 10 Swansea fans tweet me, "Oh yeah, still think we're going down, do you? Still think we're going down?" Yeah, sorry, Swansea fans. Apologies all round. Right then, Jack, final one for you. I mean, there's a list here. All right, we'll go for this one on... Actually, which one should we go for here?
Are you sure?
Okay, let's go for the 10th of November.
Okay.
Mbakani looks like you taught an elephant to do ballet.
Me.
Point. He was you.
I know that was something that I'd say.
So this week's feature is won by Jack. He gets 5-3 there in the points. And we're keeping a running total this week, boys, or this year. 5-3. And obviously these predictions at the end will be worth more points.
But hang on. Surely it's 1-0 because...
Alright, we'll do 1-0 then, fine.
Let's have it roll over.
We'll do 1-0. That's 1-0 up later on. And that does bring us into this week's feature.
It's been a while since we heard that theme tune, Ben.
Yeah, sorry.
It's classic.
I've redone it over the summer. It's a good one. Now then, let's talk about a little bit of football. Now, we should preface...
I was about to say, can we get the disclaimer in early?
13 minutes in, that Jack has seen one football match. Not that it'll make any difference to his opinions and punditry, but he's seen one football match this weekend.
And we thought we'd bring him along for the ride anyway.
I mean, my excuse is, I was in the Peak District... I had 4G actually, and I saw the Liverpool score after 2 minutes, and I turned off my phone and didn't look at football for the rest of the weekend while I was away.
It was a good idea. But you did see one game, Jack. I'm going to kick off with that game. It was the Friday Night Football. First of all, what do we think about Friday Night Football?
I like it. I really like it. I think it's good. The atmosphere at Old Trafford was excellent.
Am I right in thinking that they're going to pick either Friday or Monday? Like, they don't have both?
I think it's both some weeks.
Yeah.
Is it?
Maybe.
Can I just have a mini rant? It's kind of related to the Friday football. It's the fact that Sunday is now called Nissan Super Sunday. It shouldn't be Nissan, it should be Ford. Ford Super Sunday.
No, because
it rolls off the tongue. And Nissan...
We're not sponsored.
When you go on Sky Guide now as well, it says Nissan Super Sunday. It just doesn't look right.
So what are we going to do about it? That's the
what we should do is tell Ford that now they're not sponsoring Super Sunday.
There's a little podcast that might be interested.
There's we're always around. There's an opportunity here. So.
Maybe we should afford.
I mean, I think they're game.
Okay, I mean, Jack, you deal with our inquiries in that nature,
and we'll be joining you next week with ForTheFans.
ForTheFans, very good.
See,
yes,
it works.
I mean, I feel like there would be a backlash if we decided to just become ForTheFans. Okay.
It's actually a car show.
I was like, that's one of the better things you've ever said, and I appreciate that. I mean, we're recording a podcast, so I could give that the full sort of,
That's why you employ me, Ben.
The full round of applause it deserves. Now then, let's kick things off then, Jack, with the game you saw. The Manchester United 2, Southampton 0.
Are you sure you saw it?
Yeah, I did see it. Zlatan has arrived, people. He is here, and he's here to stay. Bagged himself 2 goals. The first from a cross from Wayne Rooney, the second a penalty. And is it early to say this? I mean, tune into next year's show when this comes back to bite me. But the old Manchester United look like they're back,
This date was the 23rd of August, Philip, just right, so you can easily timestamp
That's enough.
We were talking about this game, I think, last night or the night before, and you said that United looked efficient. And I disagree with that in the sense that I also thought they looked, to quote the feature, scarily good in the sort of Mourinho way. But they played some excellent football as well. It's the kind of way that Mourinho's teams do this quite early on in the season. He did it, of course, in his title-winning season, second time around with Chelsea, when for the first sort of 3 or 4 months of the season they were playing extremely kind of open, free-flowing football. It was very exciting. I think the excitement of the United fans was quite clear to see on Friday night. And then when he does need a result, it begins to tighten up. I think they have the players to do both. And on Friday, it was certainly the former rather than the latter. I enjoyed the whole spectacle. You asked about the Friday night football. I thought the game was exciting. Pogba in his first game back at his sort of new old club was excellent, and it was a very exciting game and a very impressive performance. I thought they could have had more.
I do hope they kind of cherry pick the Friday games though, because I don't think
I
don't think some games could end up being a bit of a dead rubber. Like, you get towards the end of the season, so there's a Friday night game between, I don't know, say they're both safe. It's like Watford Everton. It's just like, oh, great, yeah. So tune in for that. I think the hype around Pogba was interested, and Mourinho and Zlatan.
I think there's about 10 or 11 scheduled for this season of Friday nights, so it's not going to be every week, which is good. But
yeah, Jack, I'm going to come to you. We've not really talked about United too much. We didn't focus that much on them last week.
Yeah.
How much of an influence do you think Zlatan will have on this team? He's bagged 2 goals today, last week, this weekend. Do you think he's just the perfect fit, or do you think United are still lacking something?
I've got to hold my hands up here and say that I think in the preview show I said he'd get 4 goals this season.
Did you?
He's got 3.
Sounds familiar to another prediction made.
Later.
So, did I think he was going to hit the ground running as he has? No, I didn't. Am I scared for what I've seen? Yes. Part of the worry, I think, with me for Zlatan was the fact that his agents were kind of shipping him off to an MLS club at one point last season. It didn't seem like he was going to get a big club move, and it felt like United were perhaps the only team really willing to pull the trigger on that kind of deal. And obviously, it's happened now, and I didn't think he was going to hit the ground running as he has, and I have to hold my hands up and say that he looks... I feel like he is going to have more of a spotlight than Pogba on him this year, actually. I think that says something about him, the fact the world's most expensive footballer is not going to be the player that everyone's keeping an eye out for in this Manchester United side, particularly if he can keep hitting the ground running as he already has.
Yeah, it's certainly interesting.
One thing I think about Zlatan is, obviously there's the whole meme about him, and he's 34 and he's played for a lot of glittering clubs and had a very illustrious career.
Is he 35 now? Sorry, just to clarify.
34.
Could be 35 now?
I think he's 34, but he's of that age, and a move to an MLS club, or slightly winding down, would seem a logical move for a player of his ilk. Obviously, we've seen it with players like Pirlo, Lampard, etc. in the last 18 months alone. But he keeps himself in fantastic shape for a player of his age. And the way, obviously, it's been said as he joined, the way he plays, he's never had pace, he's never been an explosive player.
No.
The way he plays lends itself, combined with the fitness that he obviously keeps him, they combine to mean that, he could be... there's already talk of him extending his contract another year. He could be an important, potentially title-winning player for United for the next 2 years, I would think, at least.
Yeah, I think you mentioned his sort of physical ability and the fact he keeps himself in shape. He's
an incredible athlete.
Athlete. The thing for me with Zlatan is that mentally, he's just so much quicker than so many other players. And Manchester United need players like that to make them tick. We've seen in the last few years at United, they've played quite... I would say, to quote one of your phrases, Kino, slow methodical bollocks. It's been quite dull.
I'm sure that was your phrase, Ben.
No. Yeah. Well, I think I maybe to give context to the phrase, the way Kino plays FIFA is slow methodical bollocks. And Manchester United have played in that way. And I think when you get a player like Zlatan who just makes everyone else move that little bit quicker, and I think a player like Wayne Rooney really needs that. And I think so far I've seen a little bit of a different Wayne Rooney. because he's been sort of slotted in there by Mourinho. I wouldn't say he's playing out and out striker. I mean, you look at the goal that was scored by Zlatan, his first, the header. It was to me anyway, it was a very un-Manchester United goal. I don't remember like since maybe Ruven Nistelrooy.
It's a Mourinho goal though,
like that.
Sure.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how he keeps adapting this squad and how much Pogba fits in. I think undoubtedly he's the player that they needed. Whether we see the best of him this season at Manchester United, I'm not sure. But one thing I will say, Jack, is that he looks like he's back at home there. He looks like he's happy there. And I think for a player like him, that's going to be really important this year.
I did think, actually, what was quite telling was kind of his interviews. It's like he's never left in a lot of ways. And actually, it was weird, because I feel like if you were to show Manchester United and, some of the interviews that Pogba and Zlatan have done and just kind of the overall team dynamics.
Fitted in very quick.
Well, to someone who has never watched football, they'd think that those two players are perhaps the players who have been in that squad the longest. They've got that kind of vibe to them. And obviously, United's been a squad going through this massive transition for a few years now. They've never really had the superstars in their team over the last few years, and it's like this summer they've pulled the trigger and got two for the price of one. And they're the kind of players that if they were to be signed by one team, you stand up and take notice. When both of them go to the same team, I mean, I feel like it wouldn't be kind of a misstep, I guess, in some ways, to just say this team should be right up at the top of the table this year.
I think it speaks volumes about those two players that one of the best players in the Bundesliga last season is barely getting mentioned. I mean, he's not even starting at this stage. I'm talking about, of course, Mkhitaryan.
Well, we've not really
seen the best of him or any of him yet, really.
It's going to be a very interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how Mourinho deals with it this season, because obviously against a team like Southampton at home, when they're expected to win, he can get away with playing Pogba with Fellaini in the sort of the two in midfield behind the three. We also in the World Cup, in the Euros, that in the biggest of games against the best of teams, Pogba, while he can play that role in the central midfield, really when he has the freedom to play in the number 10 behind the striker and get up and down the pitch, that's where you see the best of him in the big games. And of course, Mourinho could do that against Southampton. He probably won't be able to do that against a Chelsea or a Man City, and it'll be interesting to see how he can accommodate Mkhitaryan, who is, like you said, one of the best players in the Bundesliga last year. How he can accommodate him, Pogba, the wide men like Martial, Mata, and of course Wayne Rooney and Ibrahimovic in the same team. Someone will have to miss out, and I think it will be someone like a Martial or a Mata, to allow Mkhitaryan maybe to play wide in a front three, or even as the number 10. But then you've got the Rooney factor, because I think he will have to deploy Pogba further forward and play.
But can he afford
to
though? Can he afford to? I think you can afford to play Pogba slightly deeper and play him next to someone else and give. Like he did against Southampton. I feel like he sat slightly deeper.
Oh, of course, against a team like Southampton.
But don't you feel like he's going to have to do that in the big games, because you want him to play, but you also want to be a threat on the break? I don't know if you're going to, like, from what you seem to be suggesting, you're going to play Pogba as number 10? Like what are you doing with him?
I think Pogba in against big teams will play in the number 10 in the same kind of, well, not the exact same role because they're different players, but the way
does he swap Rooney and Pogba around, or is he just dropping Rooney in that scenario?
Well, that's the question that Mourinho will have to answer. I mean, for the good of the team, it would be Wayne Rooney being dropped, and then you could play a front three behind Zlatan of Mkhitaryan, Pogba and Martial. I think that would be a fantastic team. Yeah. But of course, then the captain, the legend at the club, has to miss out, and it will be interesting to see, as I say, how Mourinho will handle that going forward.
It's a little while away, but I think they play Hull this coming weekend, and then there's an international break, and then the first game back after the international break.
Not long till the Manchester derby.
Well, the first game back after the international break is indeed United City, and that is going to be, dearie me.
There are a lot of egos in that United team as well, aren't there?
But they seem like, I was going to say, actually, do you think that we're spending quite a lot of time on United? I don't think did we discuss them at all last week? I can't really remember doing it.
About 20 seconds. So.
Yeah, I think that United already seem, you mentioned the relationship with Pogba and Ibra, that I feel like there's more team spirit and more togetherness in the 3 months Mourinho's been there for the entire 3 years that Van Gaal was there, which I think speaks. I don't know, it just comes across that way. It just seems settled, more settled than it ever did under Van Gaal. It always seemed like there was a tipping point of, like, the players always will sort of toe the party line of we support the manager and whatnot, but actually I always felt like it was a big, like, bad result away from Van Gaal turning on a few of those players, and I don't feel like Mourinho is in that situation because he's got quite a settled squad. But a 2-0 win, and it sees them joint top of the table with their noisy neighbours, Hull City and Chelsea. And we'll come to Hull City, unless anyone wants to say any more on that, but I feel like the whole game
let's go to Hull City, then.
Oh, let's go to Hull City, Keno. They've played... oh, bloody hell. They've played Swansea. Now, I may have said at the start of the season... I mean, I feel like actually what's happened here, is that people have misheard. 80 points, I said. Hull City will get 80 points. And there's still time, so I wish them all the best. But they have beaten Swansea 2-0, and I don't really know how they're doing it, Keno. I don't get it. Jack, at this point, Jack, I don't know what to do with you, mate.
Well,
Jack can comment on Hull's plight. He doesn't have to have seen the game, but I think...
What do you do with me, Jack? How do you want to play this, Jack?
I mean, let's play it like Hull. I'll be the 13-year-old, whatever it is, who's never played a senior game for Hull. I'll be ready to come in the wings. Keno, you're Snodgrass, go. I'll come in after 75 minutes of this.
Okay, Robert, what you got for me?
I think Mike Phelan is benefiting right now from the fact he's only made one substitution so far in 2 games. I think the way
can't do that all year though, Keno. I'm going to guess
precisely. And I think the way that the team's pulled together has been admirable. The 2 results they've had are obviously fantastic. And while it sounds like we're talking about Leicester all over again here, but I do think that
they're going to win the league. You heard it here first. ForTheFans show.
One injury, or one suspension, or even 2 suspensions.
Can I just say, you're saying this. They've got a lot of injuries and suspensions already. Like, to say one ball's going to break the camel's back, they've lost their first choice goalkeeper.
Jack, they've got 12 players.
Yeah,
at this point they've got like 12, 13 players.
They only play 11 at a time, so one injury they can deal with.
Actually, I just want to look. Keep talking about Hull, but I want to see how many players they've actually got injured. I don't know how many it is. How would you say it's just a lot?
It's more than 10, I think, and a lot of them are long term.
Okay, they've actually interestingly, the most amount of injuries in the Premier League is West Ham. I've got the table up in front of me, boys. West Ham have got the most amount of injuries with 8. Palace, Sunderland, Arsenal, Middlesbrough, Liverpool, Bournemouth, Stoke all have either the same or more injuries. Hull City currently with 5 injuries. Part of the problem at Hull, though, is that they're just not buying anybody.
Exactly, and Phelan at the end of the game, he's almost become head of recruitment as well as the manager.
Oh dear.
And he said, we're looking for, if anyone wants to come and play for Hull City, not those exact words, but we're looking for.
I think I actually got invited to a Facebook event for Hull trials earlier.
Jack, you were at the university. You know the area. Get yourself down there. There's still time.
Shall we all make a quick prediction of someone we think could sign for Hull before the window closes?
Go on then.
Someone a little bit random. Well, I've heard the name of Nicholas Bentner spoken about a championship move. I think Hull City might be, hovering.
I'll go with Mason from Mason. Tottenham. Yeah, I think he was already linked with them today, actually. But I'm going with it. That's my prediction.
That's still good though. Keno
would be a good signing, actually.
Anyone you think Hull could get into the top 4 and probably further with Hull?
Andrea Pirlo.
Oh, come on!
Bring him back.
Naughty.
Get Giovinco over from the MLS. I'm thinking MLS. I'm thinking, spread your feelers wide, Hull. Your feelings.
And see
if you can tempt anyone away from
they
the
probably need another defender. They've got Dawson out. They've got Maguire out. Alex Bruce is out, and obviously Alan McGregor is out as well. It's a situation down at Hull. They basically just need to buy some footballers. They let some go, and they need some more.
Most clubs in world football, you kind of say don't panic buy. Hull panic buy. If you get to the window and there's only 12 players left, dip into the League One market. There's a few players there.
Well,
I want a deadline day. They're just to be like the guy at Hull is just every time they come to him, he's got a different bit of paper, just stressing out, going, okay, yeah, let's sign another one. Who is it? Okay, Pirlo's here. He's in the field.
Pirlo's here. What?
Just done. At that point, he just collapses.
That's the thing that surprises me, though. You feel as though, obviously, Hull and the ownership and, there's a lot of fan process and they're in a bit of a rubbish place right now. But you'd still expect, a League One or a Championship, like a good player in one of those leagues, to still jump at the chance to be in the Premier League shop window.
Well, especially now, they've got 6 points.
Of course, yeah. So I wouldn't think that there would be too many obstacles to maybe picking some young and hungry players from the lower leagues.
Doesn't that spell it out for you? There's the reason they're selling players isn't their Premier League, aren't buying players isn't their Premier League status. It's clearly, like Jack touched on this last week, I think, that there's a much bigger issue at Hull, that the owners just don't care.
No.
So,
well, I've been in a similar situation, probably not as severe, but the longer it goes on for Hull, the worse it will get.
Can I just say, Villa were never no one ever wanted to rename Villa the Tigers or anything like that, or the Lions. No. Like, it didn't get that's bad. That's what I said, No, it didn't get that bad, but I have a sort of a semblance of the feeling that many Hull fans will be feeling right now, and it's not great.
But, I mean...
That's why this start's been so good for them.
Yeah, really, to cheer Hull up, I mean, you've got 6 points from 2 games. You could probably never have imagined that would be the start you had. You played Leicester, then you're away at Swansea. Home to Swansea. It's a tough old start. Their next few fixtures, not particularly kind. Manchester United, Burnley away, who are a very difficult team to play against. Arsenal, then Liverpool.
Are they?
I mean, very, very. Trust me. Arsenal. So in the next 4, they've got United, Arsenal, and Liverpool, and I'd say that big game against Burnley. But that, like in the context of their season, that is a huge game.
And it's probably better to have those big games while that first 11 are in such good form and pulling together and relatively injury free.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get them out of the way.
But so they've done well there. 6 points, and they're scoring goals, which is always important. Hernander's got himself 1.
What do you think about Swansea, Ben?
I think we kind of touched on it last week, that we think that they have sold some experienced players, and I think I even said, apart from Gylfi Sigurdsson, they're lacking a little bit of sort of firepower. And I mean, they obviously won on the opening weekend, but I still feel like they're another team that are gonna. There's not long left of this window. I think some teams are certainly gonna have to have a little bit of a panic.
Well, they've lost, they've lost the best part of a full spine of their side. With obviously Gomes. Ayew and Williams all leaving in the same summer.
Yeah,
it's very very difficult to bounce back from transfers like that. I mean, we've only seen maybe a handful of clubs do that. I'm thinking maybe of Southampton in the past, but they don't quite have the infrastructure in terms of their youth team that Southampton do. So it may be a lot more difficult for them to bounce back from this. And I'm not sure I fear for them in relegation terms, but I think it will be quite a difficult season for Swansea. If they don't make some big moves between now and the end of the month.
I think for Swansea it could potentially be a bit of a transitional season of becoming the team that they were based on possession. They kind of have to change up. Like you mentioned the spine's changed. Although those players weren't part of the Brendan Rodgers philosophy, a lot of the players that were now part of that have moved on, and we're going to have to start seeing a slightly different Swansea City side. But yeah, good point for Hull. 3 points, only 2 to go. I mean, sorry, only what was it?
74.
74 points to go. Hull get to the 80. Middlesbrough have won another match. They are or won a match. Sorry, did they draw the first one?
They drew, yeah.
Apologies. They've won a match, and Stuani, the first goal for that game. Jack, I don't know if you've seen this. You probably have done. Actually,
I've seen it.
You saw this game from.
I enjoyed it. Well, yeah, I did. I watched Match of the Day too. That was a mistake. I thought I could get myself catched up. I didn't get to the highlights of the rest of the games, but I did see 2 beautiful Middlesbrough goals for very contrasting reasons.
You were very tired yesterday, Jack. Did you fall asleep?
Well, no, I watched them about 10 minutes before we started recording, actually, to pull back the curtains on a completely legitimate stream, because, of course, Match of the Day is already out on iPlayer.
Yeah.
I'm nodding and winking here.
Other platforms are available.
But no, from what I saw, Middlesbrough actually looked fairly competent.
From what I saw.
From what I saw, from the highlights in which they won 2-1. But then, in fairness, Negredo looks a bit quite like a perfect fit, doesn't it, at Borough? I mean, you must be upset though, Jack, because obviously he's ousted Jordan Rhodes there.
Yeah,
and David Nugent, who's a player I feel Jack.
Well, Nugent's getting on the bench ahead of Rhodes at the moment, is he not?
I think he's probably a bit more of a versatile player for what.
I mean, Charlie Austin played at Old Trafford, so silver linings, yeah.
Silver lining, but no, Negredo is playing well. He obviously got a couple of goals. He got a goal on the opening weekend, 2 assists, I think it was this win, or an assist. 2 assists. I mean, we're all over the place this week, aren't we? Jesus. But Stuani's first goal of the season contender. I'm saying it now.
Already, Ben?
It was a banger.
It was a banger, yeah.
I love a banger. And worrying times. I think really the story here, but as good as Middlesbrough were, as it often is with the way we do these podcasts, Sunderland and David Moyes, that is the kind of game at home to Middlesbrough they've got to be winning, in my opinion, and they haven't won it.
Well, of course, there were I think it was before the game that Moyes, in his press conference, was talking about how in quite sort of realistic tones how difficult a season this would be for Sunderland. It's the kind of thing he did actually at Man United and got a lot of criticism for it. And remember when he said that United were not on the same level of City and needed to learn from them, and he got a lot of stick for that. And I think he's got quite a lot of stick from Sunderland fans about those comments that he made before the game. And from the performance, he looks like he has a point, and I think it's fairly. While it's probably not what Sunderland fans would want to hear, it's a realistic assessment of where they're at, and maybe if Allardyce had stayed and they'd kept Kone, Kabul, and players like that. Well, obviously Kone hasn't gone yet, but he wants out. That looks like it will probably happen.
I wonder though, is that a bit of gamesmanship from Moyes? Do you think he's saying that because he wants some more players?
I think
he's already got a few. He's got Januzaj, he's got Pinar in.
It's 34-year-old injured Stephen Pinar. It's classic expectation management.
He came on for John O'Shea. What can I tell you? He's a starter next week.
It is expectation management, and I don't think I agree with you. I don't think there's a problem in a manager coming out and being realistic about the prospects.
As a fan, it's not what you want to hear.
It's not. If I was a Sunderland fan, I would not
just
be
4 season
confident.
Ticket. Yeah, 4 season ticket, and then he goes, "It's been a long season, everyone."
Especially after the second game.
Yeah, especially after game 2. It's a great point.
Yeah, and so his assessment was obviously he know best. It was pretty much spot on. They're in a similar boat to Swansea, I think. The Allardyce, I mean, you can't grudge Allardyce for taking the England job, but that has rocked them, and I feel if he was still there would have been a bit more of a sense of stability and positivity going forward. That has rocked them. And like you say, you assess Swansea quite aptly in just before, Ben. I think the same kind of applies to Sunderland. It's a bit of a transition. Moyes, obviously, he's not had a lot of time to assess transfer options and work with the players. I think that's why we've seen him go for players he's used before. And it will be it'll be a kind of a tough season. Moyes was spot on, although Sunderland fans might not want to hear it.
Indeed, I guess that is for both teams developing. I feel like if we're doing live news, it'd be more on that when we get more, which will be in the next few weeks. Let's move on to a bloody hell. Burnley 2, Liverpool 0. Jekyll and Hyde over at Liverpool. I guess the start to take from the game is that Burnley have won a football match with the lowest percent possession ever in Premier League history. I think it was 19 point something. And
possession don't win your games, Ben.
Goals do though, Keno, and when Liverpool don't score them.
No.
I actually watched this game on a feed. We'll say, I don't want to say what feed exactly, but I did watch this game on a feed. And Sean Dyche, I mean, he loves the word "fucking." Let me tell you, because the mic was on a little bit too loud next to the Burnley dugout.
That is one of the things, actually, from sort of football coverage, particularly on Sky, like in the last sort of 2 or 3 years, that I feel has really been quite funny.
I do like it, though. I can't pretend I don't like it.
It didn't always happen, but you get a lot of more sort of close mics of the pitch now, and you hear a lot of funny stuff. It is good.
I would quite like it if they had a camera in the bottom left and one in the bottom right, and it was just cameras fixed that track the managers. And the microphone's a little bit louder.
Had this, didn't he? And he was annoyed by it. Klopp doesn't like that. Klopp gets visibly annoyed by cameras on him. Not a fan of it, Jackie. Actually, Jackie, it happened at Wembley, did you know, when we were there?
I didn't.
I think it was your phone that you were irritated
by. Sorry.
Waving in his face, Jack.
But no, and it's a problem. Like we talked about Liverpool a lot last week with the Arsenal game, but it's a problem for Liverpool that if they're going to have these great victories over the bigger teams, if they're going to go away to Burnley, they need to find a way to break down sides that do this, because it is, and Burnley, all the credit to them, this is exactly, I said it last season as well, this is exactly how you play against Liverpool. You put 10 men behind the ball and say, go on then, beat us. And this is where the issue lies, that actually we're not Arsenal in the respect that we don't have a Mesut Ozil to feed things through. We don't have Alexis Sanchez to pull out a wonder goal. You've got Philippe Coutinho, who on his day is fantastic, but when the pitch is open, and when the pitch is closed, all he does is kind of shoot from 20, 25, 30 yards to ill effect. And if one of those doesn't go in, then it's a long old day, because I think he had about 7 shots that just ballooned over the bar, and it's not good. We don't have someone to be sort of the cutting edge against teams like, we didn't have Mane, who got injured. Sturridge came in, and I mean, I told you sort of mid-game, Keno, I feel like he ruins everything.
Coutinho?
No, Sturridge.
Well, you also it's difficult because he's been a bit of a, I don't want to say talisman, but
he's broken.
I said at the end of last season that if we had
I
said at the end of last season if we had a bid of more than 20 million, I'd be happy to see him go. I think
he doesn't fit this.
Exactly,
system,
he doesn't fit. He's not had a good season in some time. If we'd sold him at the end of that Suarez season, you're talking 40 million plus. The last few years, you're lucky to get 20 million. I think there were rumours of Arsenal maybe going in for him at one point. There was the stat that came out after that first game against Arsenal about the fact Liverpool had covered the most ground, in a Premier League match ever, or it might have been a Liverpool match ever in the Premier League. It was some stats to do with the significance of running. Sturridge cannot run. His hamstrings cannot run. He suits a system where, as a striker, doesn't have the ball, can just kind of wander around, be ready to get into kind of a good attacking position, but doesn't need to, be there kind of putting in a full shift, a bit like a centre mid. And ultimately, the issue for Sturridge is that because of all the injuries he's had, he's damaged goods, and there's not going to be a team, I don't think, on the kind of same level as Liverpool who are perhaps willing to take him in and play him as their starting striker. And for Liverpool, the issue they've got is that he's a player who almost feels too good to sell, although I think most Liverpool fans would agree it probably is in our interest to sell him for whatever we could get for him, which I don't think is a lot at all, and maybe it isn't worth doing it because of how little it'll be.
Well, the problem is, Jack, who plays? If you sell Sturridge, you've got to go out and buy a striker, and then at that point, who'd you bring in?
Do you feel Origi isn't ready yet?
He's good, but there's just games where you look at him and think, as you've just sort of said there, you're not quite ready yet. And while that's fine if he plays well in the 10 of the 30 games, he's only playing well in 10 of the 30 games. So if there's other 20 games, you're trying to fill in with Danny Ings, or you're trying to play Firmino there, who, while he does a good job, and obviously it was evident against Liverpool, that does work with him there, and Mane on the right, Coutinho on the left. There's just this disconnect between having a player that can just basically, in games, and it was evident against Burnley, in those sort of games, you need to have someone that you can just depend on. And right now, Daniel Sturridge, while he has been in the past, is not that guy that you can depend on in a tricky situation to just bail you out. You get out of there with a 1-0. Now, while we're talking about the attacking side of Liverpool,
I don't think
go on.
I don't think it's any coincidence that in a game where the game that Sturridge was brought right back into the side, Liverpool lost a game where they didn't move the ball fast enough. There was not enough creative sort of impetus. And it wasn't so much that the effort wasn't there. I mean, they were attempting to break Burnley down. Yeah.
It's hard. As you say, they've got 10 men behind the ball. It's not easy, but there needs to be. No. If you want to be a top 4 team, you've got to find a way to break it. City can, when you play, Arsenal can.
When you play those two banks of 4, there's got to be a bit of dynamism, and the ball has to move extremely fast, especially when you're playing a very well organised two backs of 4 and decent players. And I don't think it was any coincidence that in the game that Sturridge came back, that link-up play that we see from quite often from that front 3 when they play with the false 9 wasn't there.
No.
And I think although he's had a couple of great seasons for Liverpool, I think it could be a time. I mean, we were talking about, I don't want to spend too long on Liverpool, but we were talking about the potential player that Liverpool need, and it is more like obviously not the man himself, but a kind of Lewandowski complete striker type player who's a little bit more mobile, a bit more versatile, and can sort of move all the way across the front of the line. That's the kind of player that they need, and I think Origi could be that, but as you say, he's not ready.
Can I be honest though? For me at Liverpool at the moment, I'd take a left back over a striker in our current predicament. I'd rather get Ricardo Rodriguez in, or someone of that nature. I know Hector's been mentioned as well, over a striker, because I actually think that the striking setup that we have right now, the options that we have, is good enough to get us the goals that we need in the majority of games.
I should say, behind the curtain, Liverpool 1-0 up against Burton, Origi with a goal, Mane assist. No Sturridge, of course.
But for me, I feel like defensively, Liverpool are going to lose more points if they don't get in a defender, then they're going to miss out on wins and kind of points in getting in another striker in this current kind of squad.
Well, defensively, Liverpool got caught twice. It wasn't this idea that we're just dreadful defensively. We're not dreadful defensively. We just got caught twice. And Moreno wasn't even on the pitch for the incident.
Still his fault.
Milner's not a left back, which is an issue in itself. Klopp can say if he likes that he hates the transfer window, but if you're not going to play Moreno ahead of James Milner at left back, you need to buy one, Jurgen. That's just the way it is. This is the first Dear Jurgen. Just buy a left back. We've got money to do it. We've broken even this summer. Go and buy a left back, please. Thank you. And then we'll be happy. Everyone will be happy. You'll be happy because you'll have a left back. Right. I don't think there's much more to say on that. Burnley, great result. Sean Dyche, he was, delighted.
Sean
with
Dyche is the natural successor to Sam Allardyce in the Premier League. Not as an England manager.
Bloody hell. Bloody Keno. I've been through enough this summer. Bloody Nora. You said that, I almost had a heart attack.
As a Premier League manager, an English Premier League manager with a chip on his shoulder, there is no one more suitable to succeed.
The thing is, right, he'll deserve the England job in about 3 years' time. He'll get it in 10 years, and that's the really scary thing for me.
Allardyce, Ben.
Allardyce, brilliant. Right, let's go to City. I think we're going to cover the games a little bit less than we did last week. We're going to go through. I think we've gone through more games this week. We've got 2 more.
We have. We've been going quite quickly, but
Stoke City 1, Manchester City 4. Nolito got a 2 at the end, but the game really by that point was already won. Aguero obviously scored his penalty, and Guardiola's side now, the pair here, look like a side that are just boiling nicely. Keno, they look ready.
My favourite quote from this was from John Motson after the game when he said, I'm starting to think that this Guardiola's the real deal.
Just now!
17 titles later.
He did it away at Stoke and Motson was convinced. That's all it took. That's all it would have taken.
That was the final straw that broke the Motson back was the 4-1 away at Stoke, where many have failed.
I like the idea of pre-game. Someone goes to John Motson, so Guardiola, Mark Hughes, what do you reckon? Well, I don't really know who's the best manager out of the two of them. It's like, what do you want? John, Pep Guardiola. Has he done it at Stoke yet, though? Has he won here? No, he hasn't. Well, there you are then. We'll see after the game. After the game, I think Guardiola's the real deal. I like the idea of it.
I thought on the performance of Man City, it wasn't really a text, but you can see it's funny because you can almost see in real time the changes that he's making to the way they play, and you can always see in real time the way the players trying to process a lot of the instructions that they're obviously getting every day in the week. It's quite interesting to see which players are coping better with that and the ones that are not. I didn't think it was like I say, a textbook Guardiola performance. They did what they had to win, and I guess you've got to do that across a season. It's still a difficult place to go, the Britannia. Not as maybe rough or as kind of up and at 'em as it used to be, but it's still a tough place to go, and the fans get on your back. So they did well to get the result. Obviously, it was 2-1 till very late, and then they got those final 2 quickly. But let's talk a little bit about Raheem Sterling, Ben, because
looks good.
Obviously,
looks really good.
He throughout the summer he obviously came back from the Euros, wasn't great form last season. I don't think he flourished under Pellegrini, and there was a lot of criticism for his form at the Euros. And there was the one comment I read before the beginning of the season from his agent. I think it was his agent or a talent like a manager or something like that. But he said, that the type of player that Sterling is. He flourished under Rodgers, who's a very hands-on, kind of individual-focused manager, right? And that was where we saw Sterling at his best. When, obviously, because he's a young player, still developing, and he needs that kind of, not one-on-one, but, he needs those instructions. I don't think Pellegrini did that for him, and I think the form that he showed last year was kind of testament to that. Guardiola is the type of man that if he said to Sterling, you are my man, and he gives him that kind of individual attention, that he could really flourish.
I think he has said that as well, by the way. Just to clarify, I think he has said that to Sterling. That coming in, you are going to be one of my main guys here, because he needs to. He should build up a team.
He needs to be. He's a £50 million player.
But you've invested in players like him and De Bruyne. You've got to make sure they're playing week in, week out. You've got to find a way to accommodate them. And I think he looks good under. I don't necessarily like it. But I think
that's why I came to you about it. Yeah.
But I do think he looks good under him. I think, like Jack, obviously you've seen Sterling play. He's the kind of player that on his day he's electric.
He is. He's such a polarising figure for me. Because at one point, there's games where you watch him and you think, this guy, he's got it about him. He's got that spark. There's other games where he looks like he's just lacking a bit of everything. And I think I don't think it's an issue with him that he can't kind of get over. I genuinely think he can be one of the best players in the Premier League. And I think playing at City with the current squad, he's going to get opportunities to play with some of the best players in the Premier League. And I desperately hope that this year we see more progress from Raheem Sterling than we did last. Because I honestly feel like in the last 12 months, really, there hasn't been a visible kind of transformation with him that I think a lot of people were expecting when he first went to City, given the fee he moved for.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
There was some criticism. I mean, I heard sort of journalist reaction after the game, sort of criticising him for the Nolito goal. I think the first Nolito goal that he sort of pulled back in front of the keeper for not having to go himself. And I mean, that is one of the criticism levelled at Sterling, is that he can't finish.
That'll have been. Which I just say that will have been Guardiola's favourite goal.
Yeah, and I think that
I
do feel Sterling's missing that in his game yet at the moment, but it's something he could certainly add. But I feel that, as that assist-making player, he can really develop into that. And as you say, I'm sure someone like Pep won't mind him not shooting in that situation, as long as it leads to a goal.
Indeed, I think a few weeks' time we're going to see that team really. Yeah, I think he's got something there, Mr. Guardiola. Do you know what, Keno? I dare say he's the real deal.
Do you?
Yeah, I dare say it. A team that are looking, well, not quite like their best, but Chelsea are on the warpath. Costa gets himself
very
another goal.
much the warpath.
He's a naughty little man, isn't he, though? Diego Costa. He needs to cut to the point where, even as like a fan of a different team, I look at him and just go, "Oh, stop it, you silly little boy!" That's how I feel, and that's sounded quite camp, I admit, but I do feel like that about him. I feel like, look, you could continue to be a greite player without all this silly nonsense.
He's got a beard as well now.
He's going
getting
pure,
on well with Conte.
He's getting pure right. I've no doubt. I've not looked yet, but I think Jack's going to have a quick look through for us. But that he will be very prevalent in the viewer question later on. Diego Costa.
The relationship between Conte and Costa this season, you feel as though it is on a knife edge. If it goes well, Costa has the ingredients to fire Chelsea. I mean, they were my tip for the title. He has the ingredients to fire them to the title. But if it goes wrong and they fall out, basically if Costa doesn't do what Conte tells him to do, it could be absolute fireworks.
Well, they could
drama.
be great mates, though. I can definitely picture a scene where Conte invites him round for dinner, and
Yeah.
it's just Conte, his wife, and Diego.
I think great mates, but with huge arguments, like huge, slamming of doors, smashing of things, walking out. But then they'll get back together.
Conte taking Diego Costa home like a young child, like his parent. It's like, Diego, go to bed. We'll go to bed. You're not the boss of me. Slams door.
If we find out, like in around November, that Diego Costa has been staying at Conte's house.
He just hasn't allowed him to leave his sight.
That'd be great. It's like, Diego, mate, you can play every week, but you know the rules. When they go from training, Costa's just like convoying behind Conte. And people are like, where is Diego? He doesn't even live that way, does he? But then all of a sudden, they arrive at training exactly the same time. But at that point, Conte's just behind him to make sure he doesn't veer off anywhere on the way back to work. I like the idea. I think there is certainly a love-hate relationship between the two of them, and I think it does seem like it's going to explode.
For all his antics, I think Costa's fantastic value as a neutral. And
you need people like him to make football interesting.
You do, and I think in such a sort of turbulent season for Chelsea last year, we didn't really see that from him. And when he's playing well,
the ultimate wind-up merchant as well.
It's great. It's great to watch. Yeah, and we had a glimpse in that game. Importantly, I mean, they weren't fantastic. I think we'll see Conte sort of grind out some results with Chelsea as he gets, again, kind of like Guardiola, gets his philosophy and gets the players used to it. We did see a glimpse of that Fabregas, obviously it was a fantastic pass for Costa's goal. We saw a glimpse of that partnership between those two players that fired them to the title 2 years ago. And if he can... I mean, a lot of people, possibly myself included in the previous shows, I can't remember, were fearful for Fabregas' place in that team. But if Conte, I mean, you said he might, you've put him in your fantasy team, Ben, you've got confidence in Fabregas. If he can sort of recapture a bit of that form and Conte trusts him and they can get that sort of partnership going again, it could be really important for them.
I think a player like Conte wants a player like Fabregas next to him as well.
Yeah,
because I think he knows
easy to give the ball to.
Conte knows that if he gives it to Fabregas, that he gets a little break, because Fabregas is very he works the ball very well. It's one of his best assets, and I think Conte will realise that actually, while having a strong midfield is important, that having someone with a little bit more know-how and a little bit more experience, like I'm comparing basically Matic to Fabregas. I think Fabregas just has the edge in terms of what he offers offensively, and in a league like this, it could be this year a little bit of the case of who scores more wins. I know that's like always the case, obviously, listeners. But what I'm saying is, there's a lack of defending, I feel like, this year, and Conte is going to struggle with that being Italian. But that's just the way it is. And the sooner he realises that Fabregas is important, then I think Chelsea will will rocket up the table. We could see a very good year from Cesc Fabregas. Philip, write that down. Now, I think that sort of brings us to the end. Obviously, there are other games. We haven't even talked about Arsenal-Leicester, but when it's a 0-0, there was a couple of debatable penalty shouts, boys. I don't know what you thought of those.
Yes, interesting. Saw them.
Did you, Jack? What did you make of the first one?
Stonewall. Did
Koscielny get the ball or not?
He definitely tackled Vardy. Was it Vardy? I don't know.
It was Vardy, actually.
I know.
Koscielny on Vardy.
Good shout.
You've done well there. I didn't think that was, just to clarify for the listeners, I didn't think that was a penalty. I thought Koscielny just gets there first, very, very just. I think that Clattenburg has had a little bit of a guess, if I'm honest. And then with the second one, I think Musa is fouled by Bellerin, and it should be a penalty.
Did you see, slightly off tangent as we're coming to the end, did you see Mark Clattenburg's tattoos that he got after the Euros?
I think it's fine, Callum. Why is he getting shit?
I don't know what the tattoo is, but I'm imagining a red and yellow card on the palms of his hands, so he doesn't have to get cards out anymore. He just shows the palm of his hand to players.
That's a fantastic idea.
No, it's not. It's a lunatic's idea, because he's not always a referee.
I think it'd be a good sort of badge of commitment for referees to do.
Tattoo that.
In case you haven't seen, Jack, I mean, you might have googled it by now. He got the logo. It's sort of commemorative tattoos of his final refereeing performances. Obviously, did he do the World Cup, the Champions League? Sorry.
Champions League
and
trophy.
So he got and this is my problem with it: the proper European Championship and UEFA Champions League logos done. I don't know where they were on his body.
Either arm. I think.
Was it arms? Yeah, either arm. With obviously the dates, the teams, the school, etc. And my problem is the logos. You may as well have put registered trademark on them. They're too squeaky clean. I think a kind of some sort of commemorative tattoo is fine, but Clattenburg's in the same book as Pardew for me. It's a Pardew thing to do. They seem like they get on.
I think we talked about this before, but Mark Clattenburg has a voice you wouldn't expect.
Last week, in fact.
When you look at him. Was it last week? He does. I mean, if you've not listened yet, listeners, then you've got to have a listen, because you'll be surprised at what you hear.
That's what you do. You listen.
You do. You're very good at listening, listeners. I'll give you that. If there's one thing you're good at, it's listening. Hopefully, you're good at something else as well. Of course, we'll come back to every other Premier League team we didn't talk about this week. Next week, don't worry about it. There were other games. We're aware of them. It's Tuesday. Next week, though, we'll be slightly earlier with the podcast, gentlemen. Yes? Yes. Good.
They're good at writing in on Twitter as well, Ben, aren't they?
They are very good at writing on Twitter. Lovely little segue. As we go to you, Jack, who I'm hoping has got some of the best answers to this week's question. Just to get you involved, mate.
I have.
Yeah, Jack didn't watch much of football
ready.
This week.
So, question of the week: footballers as film stars. Who from the world of football could replace a big screen star, and why? So we went to the viewers. We have Andrea Pirlo in Men in Black. That is from Matty Slater.
Who said that? Okay.
Obviously, Pirlo came up earlier. Apparently, he could look quite class in a tuxedo. I don't know. I can imagine looking quite suave, but I don't know about Men in Black.
He's definitely good. Yeah, I agree. I think he's definitely good in a suit. Not sure the comedic sort of slapstick Men in Black would be the right gig for him.
We have Dylan James, who said Jamie Vardy to be Tramp from Lady and the Tramp, and nobody suddenly in a good place. I'm imagining that. I'm imagining Mahrez as a lady and all of that. And Ranieri opens a box at Christmas, and there's a little Mahrez in the box.
There's two I'd quite like to read out. The first is, I mean, now Rasmus, I know you're from Sweden, but the irony in this is quite funny. You've written Walcott's Forrest Gump, as he's incredibly fast and incredibly stupid. The best part about that is you've spelled incredibly wrong. But it's still funny. I mean, I still enjoy it. And another good one by Mark Tucker, who said Arsene Wenger as Ebenezer Scrooge, ghosts of Arsenal past, Adams, present Wilshere, and future some unknown 4.5 million CDM, which I think's very good. I feel like he's put work in there, boys. I
appreciate it.
Any more you wanna go through, Jack?
I mean, we got a lot. Can I just say we did get a lot.
We did get a lot of answers.
The engagement has been great from this.
I want the best ones.
Apparently, Conte as Ali G. I can't see how that works. That's one that I picked out because I just don't see it.
Did you get a reason why?
No, that was literally the comment.
I want to know if these are based on maybe like visual likeness, physical likeness, or sort of mentality. I think Conte would be a fantastic mafia boss.
At Thromboid said Will Grigg is a Human Torch, which I think is very good. It's just good. It's clever. It's easy,
one, though,
but it's clever.
Very good.
But it's still good to have the Human Torch. I'm on board with that.
I am also on board.
At Skinner, which I think Reese is actually is your real name, but you've gone with Skinner, which it must be hard. Jamie Vardy wouldn't be out of place in Green Street only if he punches himself for not opposition fans. I think Jamie Vardy could be in Green Street, actually.
There's a player who used to play for Stoke. I think he was like a one-club man. He did play in the Premier League called Andy Wilkinson.
Yes.
Now, Stoke fans will know of him. And I remember seeing him play at Villa. Sorry?
Was he one club? I'm not sure he was one club. Oh no, he was 15 years. Bloody
yeah,
hell.
I thought he was one club man. But I remember seeing him play. He played how I thought he would act in Green Street. He would be the perfect man. And also,
he could be the lead. You remember the lead guy that sort of helps Elijah Wood become a real man?
Reminded me, I forget his name. The little guy in This Is England as well. You know,
I mean, that's harsh. I mean, he won't be happy with that comparison. Let's face it, he will not be happy with that at all.
That's my addition to this.
That's your addition. Jack, have we got any more?
We have Luis Suarez as Dracula. I mean, I'm sat
easy,
there. I'm
but,
sat.
You know.
You can't see my face there, but it's the face of bit easy. So,
can we see your face?
That was from Matt Slater, by the way. We also had Jake T, who said Javi Hernandez as Santiago Munez from goal.
Excellent.
Very good.
It's a good one. I mean, he's thought about it, which I like. Have we got any more? I'm having a little flick.
I feel that's got the sort of South American connection and also physical likeness as well.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Goal 3? Because I've not watched Out of Protest, and it's been some years since that film came out. Because it had nothing to do with Goal 1 or Goal 2.
I haven't seen it. I never saw it. I wasn't.
So I was like, what's like a trilogy is 3? What's 2? Like, if you just have 2 or something, because it's
sequel.
I just see it as like those 2 films. That like the third one just doesn't exist to me. It's dead to me.
I don't think we could call 2 films a brace.
I mean, maybe football films. Maybe you can get away with it.
Someone else put John. We'll finish with this one. Rob Edwards, John Barnes replacing Eminem in 8 Mile because rapping, which I like. We'll end it there. Thank you as ever at ForTheFans Show on Twitter. Send in your answers to question of the week. We tweet out about an hour before we record this bit, so be around. Next week it'll be Monday about 6 o'clock. I'm even giving you a time. Right then, that does bring us to the end. Jank. Sorry, Jank. Jack. Thank you. How could you jank there? I do apologise. Jack, thank you for joining us. Did you enjoy this week's football?
I mean, I feel like you guys have told me everything I need to know about the football. I shouldn't watch the rest of my show today now.
That's the goal.
Excellent work.
I hope that you're the guiney pig for the listeners.
I mean, I hope I'm not a guinea pig, just for the record.
Let me get rid of Keno. Keno, pleasure as always.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah.
Of course, then, listeners, iTunes, For The Fans Show, youtube.com/ForTheFans Show, and this week, exclusively on SoundCloud. We'll see how many of you listen. If it's not enough, we won't be doing it again. With love, with care, Real Benji, until next time. For us at For The Fans, goodbye. Jack, you should have been there, mate.
It's a magnificent sculpture of a goal, Benji. It's perfection.
Keno, I think you're going to have to be calling for an oxygen mask over here, my friend.